What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below as usual. Go get it. Um, this video is entitled When Your Ideology Hits the Wall. You know, I know I've touched on this before, but whatever. Sometimes people become conscious or woke, right? And when they become conscious or become woke, they dive into an ideology without actually thinking it through. And what winds up happening is you might connect with a certain ideology and it might fit with who you are, but you have no idea how it plays out in the long run. And at some point, you know, your life is gonna have a conflict with your ideology or your ideology's principles. And you might regret the things you did when you thought you were woke or conscious because your ideology sabotaged your life, because your ideology hit a wall. It was, you were all in, and there were certain things that your ideology could not explain. You know, there's more than one truth in the world, right? So what I mean by that is, for the easiest term for men to understand, feminism. When you meet a girl or a young woman and she becomes a feminist early, you know, she dives into the ideology. But she has no idea that she's gonna probably be a jerk to most men unnecessarily. Men that didn't do anything to her, right? And she doesn't understand that what's going to wind up happening is she's going to be a lonely old lady who will be bitter that when she came out of her ideology, it was too late for her to find the companionship that she was looking for, because her ideology hit the wall, and now she has to sit back and regret all of the decisions that she made when she was all gung-ho on the feminist ideology. All of the good things that she missed out on, right? And this works with brothers too. You know, talking about, say, quote-unquote, conscious community. The conscious community has some good points. And people dive into the conscious community. But there comes a point where consciousness might actually sabotage your life, your children's legacy, because of, you know, of using racism as an excuse to not create a legacy. And you might wind up being an old man realizing you could have done more, but you clung so tight to that conscious ideology that you didn't even attempt to do some of the things that you dreamed of. You didn't even try the things. You just, so it'll be different if you tried and you failed, but it's more so, I'm not going to try it because, you know, racism is going to hold me back, or I can't do this, that, and the third. Not saying all conscious people do that. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is there are brothers who get in there and like, I'm not going to do this because of the, you know, the white man, the white this, the white that. And what happens when your ideology hits a wall, because when you come into enough knowledge and wisdom over time, and now you realize your body probably can't withstand the work that you would want to put in to rectify the situation. You realize you wasted a lot of time digging deeper into ancient African spirituality, or Kemet, or Hebrew Israelitism, or just all this consciousness of we are kings and queens and we are gods, but getting caught up in the rhetoric so much that you don't create and produce like kings and queens and gods. The only thing you produce is children, and nothing for your children to expand upon. So they lack knowledge, but you're giving them knowledge of the melanin content and make you know it all. So what happens, when your ideology hits the wall? That's part of the problem when it comes to a lot of these issues that people are having in general. And I can attribute that to, people's superiority complexes. You might feel like you're superior to another person. And what happens when the person or people or gender that you're supposed to be superior to, you run into people who are, unequivocally more superior to you. They're better than you in every way. And now you're rocked to your core, and that's just a one-off. It's an exception to every rule. But what happens when you see multiple exceptions? Because the truth be told, your ideology is going to hit the wall, because your superiority complex puts you in a position that you did not improve. You might know your social advantages or your systematic advantages, advantages. You might know your gender advantages or your race advantages. And you might have played on those things so heavily that you are in arrested development as far as human evolvement and growth and self-improvement. So you're wondering why you keep falling far behind, because guess what? Your ideology hit the wall. Because as long as you felt like you knew the game up here, you always had a bailout plan. I could not put in the work and make this move over here, and I'll still wind up better than that person because I'm superior in these ways. Forgetting that even if people are on code and they're with you, nobody wants to be around incompetence. So even if your group co-signs and agrees with the superiority, you have no benefit if you're incompetent. And the problem is you have groups, like growing groups of incompetent people who feel superior to people who they can't outperform. So what happens, when your ideology hits the wall? Because you're going to wake up one day and say, I didn't actually live up to the hype. Now what? Now what you going to do? Now, in some other ways, we deal with situations where your ideology hits the wall when you feel like parenting. I'm this parent. I'm running things. My ideologies work. I know what I'm doing. And because of your thought process, you created you molded a child to be an adult in a way that you can't undo. And now your ideology has hit a wall because you might have created a monster. And you went from loving parent to Dr. Frankenstein. And your child is the culmination of what you created, and it shows how bad your ideology hit a wall because you can't control how that child processes the twisted information you may have given them. They might have said, you know what, that's not even bright. I'm not buying that. Or they could have bought into it wholeheartedly and became something completely different what you tried to mold them to. You'd be like, no, you're going too far. You went too far. But see, your ideology hit a wall because your ideology actually thought you could control the human, another human being's mind state and free will and free choice to interpret an ideology the way that they see fit. They might have looked at some of the things that you thought were good moves as mistakes, and some of the things that you thought were good moves, some of the mistakes that you made as no, those were actually good moves. It might be inverted with them. So what happens when your ideology hits the wall and you see it in real time and you're like, I can't control this child that I created to be this way. What do? We out.